And welcome back to SWBA Today. And in today's episode, we are doing Game 2 recaps of the playoff games that took place yesterday. Next, we're going to be looking at some Game 2 previews that are set to take place tonight. And so let's go ahead and jump into these Game 2 recaps. And let's start with the Milwaukee Bucks versus the Indiana Pacers, as the Indiana Pacers are now up in this series 2-0. They won 123-115 last night. And so let's start with the Indiana Pacers. And so I think that the first key takeaway out of this is that Pascal Siakam has really played well for the Indiana Pacers. He had 24 points, he had 11 rebounds in this game, and he also had 3 steals, and he was +8. But I've been impressed with the efficiency from Pascal Siakam. He was 8 of 16 from the field, only 2 of 5 from deep, but he got to the free throw line 6 times. And I think that his defense has been very impactful for the Pacers. And then next with Tyrese Halliburton, he was a double-double machine during the season. He continues that in the playoffs. He had 21 points and he had 12 assists. And what I've been impressed with Tyrese Halliburton is just that he continues to keep the Pacers at a good pace. I think that when you look at the playing style for the Pacers, they want to get up and down the court. And I think that Tyrese Halliburton does a terrific job in making sure that the pace is always in favor of the Indiana Pacers. And so I think that he did a terrific job there. Next, look, with the Pacers and just the supporting cast, I think that that's been huge because we know what Pascal Siakam can do. We know what Tyrese Halliburton can do. We also know what Miles Turner can do as well. But you have to give Naismith a lot of credit. He's played very well in this series. He had 16. Then Andrew Nembhard has played very well out of Gonzaga. He's been special for this team really since he's got to the Pacers. And so he had 17 points and 6 assists. And then with the bench of the Pacers, very impressed with what I'm seeing there. Thomas Bryant, look, he didn't play a whole bunch yesterday and didn't score, but still he's been very impactful because he gives the Pacers a bigger body to put there at the center position. So I've said that this was really an underrated trade. So I think that he's played very well, solid defensively really for this team. Obi Toppin continues to take steps as a role player, hit a big 3-point shot, and this one only finished with 7. And then Benedict Mathurin, he's been injured really, and then now you see him getting his shot really to take off once more with this Pacers team. And so he had a big game as well. He had 14 off of the bench. And so, with the Pacers taking care of business there just all around, it was just a great team win. And then for the Milwaukee Bucks, I think that really the biggest key takeaway here is that you get Dame Lillard back, which was great. He scored 14 points and he had 7 assists. He was -7 in the plus-minus box score, but I was very impressed with Dame and the conditioning. It didn't seem like that, he was in plays and then like he would just kind of die out on the play or anything like that. Because generally when you're out of shape, you get to a point where it's certain points in the play that you tire out. And so I didn't see that with Dame Lillard and watching him in that game. And then, with Giannis, I think that you still see the impact that he brings with this team. Really, he's been everything for the Bucks. He had 34 points. He had 18 rebounds, and he got his assist total up more this time around with the 7 assists. But the Bucks still fall. And I think that just really goes into the defense that the Pacers have played. You got to give Bobby Portis, a lot of credit because he came out and played well in this game. He hit some really big shots. He had 28 points, 6 of 11 from downtown, 12 rebounds as well. So he was strong. But besides that, they just really haven't gotten anything else from the other starters like Taurean Prince. Again, he just had 6 points in this one. You had Kyle Kuzma. He had 12, so he had a much better game this time around. But, man, the Bucks have got to get a lot better with their supporting cast. I think that at some point, maybe Doc Rivers is going to have to go to Pat Covington because he didn't get a chance to play. And then when you look at just the key statistics, just from the team standpoint, look, the Pacers, I think they do a terrific job as far as not turning the basketball over in this one. Only 8, comparatively speaking, to the Bucks, who had 16 turnovers there. Points in the paint. Look, as good as Giannis is, the Bucks only won that by 2, 48-46 there. So you got to give the Pacers a ton of credit for not getting destroyed in the paint. And then when you look at just the fact that the assist totals go to the Pacers, terrific job in making sure that each pass got to a purpose there. And then they just do a great job as far as slowing down the Bucks, only 9-4 as far as the fast break points. And so, look, this is going to be a tough series for the Bucks, and I have the Pacers picked into this one. The Bucks just really haven't had really that much success with the Pacers. The Pacers have really been on fire when it comes to facing this team. They've won 5 of the last 6 playoff games. And I just think that the Bucks might be in trouble because they have not even led in this game since game 1 early in the first quarter. All right. And so next, the next game that we want to talk about that took place yesterday, that was the OKC Thunder versus the Memphis Grizzlies here. And so, look, there is not too much to say about this game. And we've been talking about why the Thunder are a team that a lot of people are picking to get out of the West because they can just beat you in so many different ways. And I think that we just saw that once again with OKC. I mean, they came out, they were up 32-17, and they never trailed in this game. Now, you do have to give Ja Morant, you got to give the Memphis Grizzlies a lot more credit. I think that maybe the added rest, after coming out of the play-in situation, they came with a little bit more punch in this game as they lost 118-99. But still, they just don't have enough. And then when you look at the stats, I think that Ja Morant, he played a lot stronger in this game. He had 23 points. He had 6 assists as well, so a little bit more of a playmaker. You got more from Jaren Jackson Jr., who had 26 points, and he also was very efficient, 10 of 17 from the field, so you definitely need that if you're going to win in this series. You got a lot more from Desmond Bane, who scored 19, but aside from that, again, you got to have some others, and you got something from Adama. He played very well with the 10 points, but Marvin Bagley, the third, he didn't have a very good game. They finally went with Luke Kennard. He had 4 as well, but just the bench just got just really destroyed, I think, by the OKC bench because Alex Caruso played well. Isaiah Joe played well. You had Aaron Wiggins played very well off the bench. Just too many ways in which this Thunder team can beat you. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, look, I know he didn't shoot the basketball as well as he wanted to, but still 27 points. He had 8 rebounds. He got to the free throw line 4 times as well. He had 2 steals and he had 5 assists. That's one of the things that I think is very underrated with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is that he plays both ends of the floor. And so, look, this OKC Thunder team, I just think, I want to give Memphis a game, but I think that this might come down to just an outright sweep. But we'll see what happens when Memphis goes home. I think that they're going to play with a ton of energy out there. Hopefully that's going to be enough to kind of push them past OKC for a game, but let's see what happens there. And so next up, the last game of the night, that was the Los Angeles Lakers versus the Minnesota Timberwolves in this game. And so, look, the Lakers come back and they get the win 94-85, and they even up the series. And I just think that really the key takeaway out of this is that, yes, you get some good contributions from Luka. He had 31 points. He was plus 12 in this. He had 12 rebounds and he had 9 assists. So he almost had the triple-double. LeBron James played with a ton of energy out there. He had 21 points and 11 rebounds. You got something from Austin Reed with the 16, the 5 assists and the 5 rebounds. He's been playing spectacular for this team. Hachimura had 11. I thought that Gabe Vincent gave him some good minutes, only 6 there. But still, Jackson Hayes, only 2 points, and then Jared Vanderbilt, 0 as well. And so I think still that the Minnesota Timberwolves are going to win this series. And so one of the reasons why I look at this and I like the Minnesota Timberwolves, and we're going to throw this up now. So we're going to go and we're going to look at the quarter breakdown. And so when you look at the first game, this is the Timberwolves versus the Lakers in the first game. They win 117-95. And so here's the key takeaways out of this. And so you see the first quarter, the Lakers, they won that one 28-21. But look at what happens. The Timberwolves, they win the second quarter 38-20. They come back, they win 35-30. And then they close well in money time 23-17 in the fourth quarter, right? Okay, so they win that game. Then we go to what happened last night. Look at this. And so in the first quarter, the Lakers jumped on the Timberwolves 34-15, But look what happens in quarter two, 28-24 Timberwolves, 22-23 to the Lakers. So you only won that quarter by 1 point. And then the Timberwolves, they closed the fourth quarter. So really in this series so far, the Lakers have only played well really in really one quarter. And if you go back and you look at this and you look at game one, I mean, honestly, 28-21, yes, you won the quarter, but still the Timberwolves are right there. And so if I'm looking at the box score, before we even jump into what we did as individuals, if I'm Coach Finch or if I'm Anthony Edwards, I'm saying, look, guys, we're doing a terrific job as far as taking care of business as this game goes along. If we would have got greedy in quarter number one, and if all we had to do was keep this thing within 10, this might have been a different game. And so I think that when you look at just the end of the score, the 94-85, and you say, okay, well, they won by 9 points. That's with Luka almost getting a triple double. And that's with them going at Rudy pretty much the entire game. And so, look, the Timberwolves are going home. You know it's going to be ruckus when they get there. And I'm just saying, and I've said this before on broadcast, did this team beat us or did we beat ourselves? I think the Timberwolves are looking at this game and saying we beat ourselves. And so I think the Timberwolves are going to make that type of adjustment. And don't get me wrong, I mean, it's going to be challenging to get LeBron James out. It always is, which is why I have this going 7. But I just think that the Timberwolves aren't going to play this poorly. And when you look at just other statistics in this game, I mean, the Timberwolves were terrible when it came down to fast break points in this. They lost in that. They also were terrible, I think, as far as just hitting the boards and things like that. So there were little things that I think that this team could have cleaned up out there that they're going to clean up moving forward. So let's go ahead now and jump into these game 2 previews that are coming up. And so let's go ahead and start with the game that a lot of people are looking to see today, and that's going to be the Boston Celtics against the Orlando Magic. And I think that, a lot of people may say, well, why are you looking at that game? It's because Jason Tatum is listed as doubtful. Okay, so if you got a chance to look at that game that they last played against the Magic, he actually took a hard fall. He went down. He got x-rays that came back negative, but it looks like that he's doubtful. And so from what I'm reading, I think he's done some on-court work and stuff like that, but he is very questionable for today's game. And so if he's not out there, does this now shift maybe a little bit more favorable for the Orlando Magic? And so initially I'm saying I'm still going with the Celtics because the Orlando Magic really struggle to score points. I think that that's the biggest issue with the Magic. We've talked about this before. They are a terrific defensive team. They defend the three-point shot and everything very well. The issue with them is that they play a slower pace, and you just can't do that right now in the modern NBA. You got to find ways to score points and maximize these possessions, and the Orlando Magic just don't do that enough. And I know that they're probably going to put emphasis on that in game 2, but here's the challenge. You had 8 preseason games. You also had 82 regular season games, and you played your style getting to this point. I just don't see how you're going to just wake up now and then say, hey, game 2, we're just going to completely change our playing style, which is why I like the Boston Celtics tonight to go up 2-0, and I really like them in this series, obviously. But I do think at some point, maybe the Magic do get a game. Maybe it is this game, but I still like the Celtics tonight. And so next up, the next game that we want to talk about here, that is going to be the Cleveland Cavaliers versus the Miami Heat. And so, look, you got to give the Miami Heat, I think, a ton of credit. I think that defensively, that's going to be their calling card, much like the Orlando Magic. But they have a little bit more, I think, punch on the offensive end. And I think that, one of the things that Coach Atkinson was talking about is that this team has had to make a real adjustment because they don't have Jimmy Butler anymore. And so that was an adjusting process. And I do think that Miami has somewhat kind of found their way now. And you just wonder, is it going to be enough against this Cleveland Cavaliers team? And I think for them, the Cavs need to get Donovan Mitchell going. I think that was a struggle for him, even though he finished well. Shout out to Ty Jerome. I think that he kind of carried the Cavs for the most part, but Donovan Mitchell is going to have to show up and show out in this game. And I think that for the Cavs, who really want to make a deep run in this playoffs and really want to have or want to get to the SWBA championship, they're going to have to take care of business against these teams. And that means that you got to come out full throttle here. So I'd expect for Donovan Mitchell to come out a lot better. I expect for Evan Mobley to attack a little bit more. That was something that I saw in game two. But you got to give Bam, or game one, excuse me, but you got to give Bam a lot of credit because of the defense that he played. And so I think that that is really where we are with the Cavs. And with the Heat, if they're going to steal a game, it's going to come down to, I think, probably just a huge performance, I think, from Tyler Hero. That's number one. And then Davion Mitchell, he's going to have to be special again, just like he was in that Atlanta Hawks play-in situation. I think that, man, he's really playing himself into a major role for this team. But I do think between those two, they're going to have to pick it up. And with Andrew Wiggins, you're just trying to really lean on him because of the championship experience that he's had with Golden State. And you're hoping that that is going to show up in a game that is probably going to be gritty and tough. I do expect for the Cavs to get this one, but make no mistake about it, this is going to be a gritty type of series. And so next up, I think the game of the night, and that's going to be the Golden State Warriors versus the Houston Rockets here. And so, look, I think that this is going to be first and foremost all about the Houston Rockets saying, look, we cannot have our main players, and I'm talking about Jalen Green, and then also too, I'm talking about Van Fleet. We cannot play it poorly like we did in game one. We can't come out and have single-digit scoring, and I know Van Fleet picked it up later in the game, but still, you can't come out like that. So you've got to come out with more emphasis on the offensive end. So I don't know, if coach has to draw up more plays for these guys to get touches, but I think that that's point number one for the Houston Rockets. Those guys have got to get into the game early, right? And I think that that is something that once they start going, I think that that kind of energizes the Rockets a little bit more, because you do have to give them a ton of credit. I think that they did a fabulous job playing to their identity, because when you get into playoff series, you get into championship series, I think a lot of times teams lose their identity. And so, I like that from this young Rockets team is they didn't necessarily lose their identity. It's just that what I worried about with them, it happened in game one where you have stars that don't show up. You're not going to see that out of Steph Curry, and that's the difference. Many people were probably looking at this and saying, okay, Steph scored just 3 points against this Houston Rockets team, but you're not going to see those type of playoff performances, and that's the difference. These guys are going to show up and show out every time. And so key number one for the Rockets is they got to do that. Next up, I think that what they're going to have to do is Steph is going to make shots. I mean, that's just some of these movements and just kind of this off-ball stuff that can really cut you up and has cut up, I think, a lot of teams just historically over the Warriors run. I think that you got to find a way to kind of slow down the others. And so that's easier said than done, especially when you got Jimmy Butler in playoff form, hitting three-pointers, looking over at Reggie Miller, asking if he likes that and all that stuff like that. I get that. And so I'm just saying defensively, they're going to have to try to figure out some things. And so I don't know, if you mix up some coverages, are you going to have to kind of stun at some people? Are you going to have to run some zones at times? I mean, the Rockets are going to have to just get creative defensively to try to slow them down a bit. And then lastly, I think it's going to come down to the half-court execution. And so this is why it favors the Warriors, because even when you take away the transition, you take away some of the other stuff that they like to do, they can still carve you up in the half-court game. And so the Rockets have got to figure out a way to be a more efficient team there. Traditionally, they haven't been throughout the season. This is why I like Golden State tonight. I think that Golden State is going to get greedy. I think that Golden State, unlike the Timberwolves, they're going to be ready for what the Rockets are going to throw at them. The Rockets are going to come at them with a lot of punch and a lot of force, but that's why you go out and you get a guy like Jimmy Butler. Still think that this is going to be probably a 6 to 7 game series, but let's see what happens tonight. So anyway, let me know in the comments here, do you think that the Golden State Warriors are going to get greedy in this series and get the 2-0 going over to Golden State? Or do you feel like, look, they are content. They are just trying to get out of here with the split? Let me know what you guys are thinking about with the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Miami Heat. Do you feel like the Miami Heat are going to get a shocker win tonight in Cleveland? Or do you feel like, look, Donovan Mitchell is going to wake up along with Evan Mobley? They're going to take care of business and go up 2-0. And then next, let me know, too, what you guys are thinking here about this Boston Celtics and the Orlando Magic series. Do you feel like that, yes, with Jason Tatum out, the Orlando Magic now have the door open to get a game in Boston? Or do you feel like the Celtics, even without Jason Tatum, will go up 2-0 in the series? I'd love to hear what your thoughts are there. And let me know what you thought about last night's action. Remember, we broke down the quarter breakdown here with the Lakers, and I've just shown you that the Lakers really, they haven't done anything that makes you think that they're going to run away with this series and really get away from the Timberwolves, because they've only won really a quarter in this series. But let me know, do you think that Luka, after this last performance, along with LeBron James and that energized performance, that's going to be enough to go into Minnesota and take care of business? Are they going to take control of this series? Love to hear what you guys are thinking there. And then let me know what you guys are thinking about the Bucks and the Pacers. What are you thinking about Dame coming back? Do you feel like the series, is going to shift when they head back to Milwaukee? Do you feel like that maybe is what they needed, is for him to get back? And lastly, what do you guys think about the Thunder and the Grizzlies series? Do you feel like that the Grizzlies are somehow, some way going to find something to beat just this beast in the West, in the Thunder? Or do you feel like the Thunder are just going to take care of business ultimately and win this one 4-0 as far as the totality of the series? And so anyway, let me know what you guys are thinking. And as we always say, see the game and be the game. I'll see you guys on the next one. All right, peace.